What did you make of what Governor Christie said today?
Well, what I made of it is a pure Chris Christie. I mean, this is a straight guy. Big mistake in his administration. Happened to me more than a few times.
You have no doubt that he had no involvement.
I'm absolutely positive. I think Chris Christie is one of the most honest, straight guys you're going to meet. I think, also, I think had he known about it, he would never acted this way. Had he known that he had some involvement in this, he never would have treated it lightly the way he did. He didn't act like a person who had knowledge before the fact.
It does seem, looking at the press conference, had he been involved in any way, if he had anything to hide, this is not the press conference you would give.
Right. I think that's absolutely true. We've seen people who are hiding things, right? Sometimes they do it for 5-6 months. There are all these stages.
Right.
There are all these stages they go through of being a little bit more transparent, a little bit more transparent. They just don't go out and open themselves up completely. Plus, I know Chris really well. I mean, he's a good friend. And in the last couple of weeks, he wouldn't have acted the way he acted if he knew, even if he had some knowledge, even had an inkling of it, his remarks would have been different kinds of remarks.
Because he was belittling reporters who brought it up. He
if you knew
was attacking them for even
and having run a very complicated administration, sometimes it's impossible for people to believe it, but you really don't know. I know when a mayor says, "I didn't know," people find it hard to believe. It's your closest aide or your closest friend. My closest friend was my first deputy mayor, Peter Powers. We went to high school, college, and law school together. He ran my campaign. He got me elected mayor. He probably could do more things on his own without telling me than the people that weren't as close to me. I mean, he felt the most degree of, I can make decisions for the mayor.
There are those who say, well, look, this was his deputy campaign manager, sending this email saying time for a traffic issue at Fort Lee or whatever it was. Even if Chris Christie didn't orchestrate it, wasn't involved in it, didn't know about it in advance or didn't know about it subsequently, the fact that there are those who say the fact that this person, this woman, thought this is the kind of thing that he would like, that says something bad about his leadership style, about what goes on behind the scenes.
Politically stupid things, political pranks that turn bad, all that other stuff. Every administration. Don't tell me this doesn't happen in the Obama administration, in the Clinton administration, in the Bush administration.
If this was something that Governor Christie knew about, and again, you don't believe it, and there's no evidence that it did, is it something, do you think it's a big deal? I mean, or is it just, as you say, this is one of those vindictive things that politicians do?
It's a big deal because of the consequences. You know, if there hadn't been a person that died, or this other, then it might not be as big a deal. And of course, whether it's a big deal or not, it becomes a big deal once he says he didn't know about it.
Right.
At this point, if he knows about it, then of course it becomes a very big deal. But I'm quite convinced from the way he's acted, both today and most importantly in the lead up to this, that he didn't know about it. And I think it becomes something that, it's obviously never going to be a plus. The only way it becomes a slight plus for him is the way he handled it today, which I think was about as open as I've ever seen a politician.
You don't think this has some sort of long-term impact on Governor Christie?
If the story remains the way it is?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I can see the negative. He had a couple of people that were bad people, or in terms of, I shouldn't say bad people, people who made mistakes. On the other hand, he's a guy who immediately, upon learning about it, was about as open as a politician's ever been. So it kind of washes out.
When he said today, I'm not a bully, I mean, there is that, whispers about him.
I think there are two things that create that image. One is he's a big man, right? And two is he comes back at you pretty hard. Well, that's just the way people, react. I don't see anything in his background that suggests that he takes advantage of people, that he pushes them around, that he's nasty to them, that he's, in terms of his personal contact. I've been with him and his family many, many times. I don't see anything different about him than, most of the other people that I know. But it is a stereotype. And the unfortunate thing for Chris is, and this should be true with me, if something happens that reinforces your stereotype, it becomes a big deal. On the other hand, if you make some other kind of mistake, people ignore it. I remember when I did a press conference, if I, in the slightest way, sounded annoyed, the story was mayor lost his temper because I thought I had a bad temper. Sometimes I'd walk out of a press conference and I would have completely screwed up something in the budget. I'd have screwed up a date, and I'd say to my press secretary, I'm going to get ruined for that. And they'd say, no, that's not part of your stereotype. They know you're smart. They just think you have a bad temper. But I see this more as not suggesting somebody's a bully, as a stupid political prank that backfired, which could happen in any administration to anyone based on an aide who just misinterpreted and went further than you should go.
Mayor Giuliani, thanks very much.
Thank you.